Good morning. Good morning. Good morning from. I think the sun is about to peek out in Boscastle on the North Cornish coast. Hi there. I'm coming live this morning because I'm taking part in the Made Makers event, an online design and craft fair that's happening this weekend. It started last night. And it's a response to the times, I guess. It's organised by Tutton and Young, who normally would organise a live event at this time of year at Marylebone in London. And so we've gone online instead. And that's happening this weekend. So there's plenty of things going on. There's talks, there's people showing jewellery, that's me. Their work, some people showing their workshops, new collections, and so on. So go on to the mademakers.co.uk to see the schedule for this. And I'm coming on this morning to, first of all, introduce myself a little bit, which I'll do in a moment, and also talk about some of the rings that I've got available. And tomorrow morning I'm coming on again, and I'll be looking at necklaces and pendants. And I'll also talk a little bit about commissions, which is another thing that I do quite a lot of. And again, on Sunday, consistently at 9:45 again, I'll talk about earrings and show you earrings, and possibly something else. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see what comes up. If you've got any questions, comments, pop them in the comments. I'd love to hear something from you, to see that there's somebody out there. Yes, so I'll start. So I'm Karin Lindberg and I'm a jeweller. I'm Swedish from the beginnings. I'm born and bred Swedish, but I moved to the UK in '97. Oh, I've got people joining here, hello. And currently, or at the moment, we're living, me and my husband and 2 children, on the North Cornish coast in the village of Boscastle. And so I work from home and mainly sell online, but obviously this is also a good opportunity to reach a wide audience online. My jewellery is all about the gems, and I source them from all over the place, all over the world, and I'm looking for beautiful, unusual, interesting to me stones, and it can be a striking colour, an unusual cut, some really interesting inclusions, which is basically impurities that in a way are undesirable but can also look really fascinating and actually be quite very attractive. And I use gems in its widest sense. I could use anything from a humble beach pebble from one of my local Cornish beaches, through the spectrum of semi-precious gemstones to the precious sapphires and so on, to diamonds. And I like the kind of unexpected combinations of these different gems. So it always starts with a stone, and then I wrap those stones in recycled sterling silver, occasionally with accents of gold. And I quite often, the shapes that I use quite often mimic the shapes of the stones of the design I'm working on, and quite often with sleek brushed finishes. I also pick up on my Cornish surroundings, because my jewellery is quite heavily influenced both by my Scandinavian roots, but also from the surroundings of where I am. The North Cornish coast is quite a rugged, spectacular coastline, and so I use textures that I make by fusing, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later when I show you some rings to see what that means. Recycled metals into rustic, kind of quite organic textures. I then also use patina to add even more depth and characters to my designs. I use mainly, purely recycled silver these days, which I think is important, and I try to recycle my scraps. Again, like I said, I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to show you some rings now. I'm just going to go and move my light because I need to change the camera so that you can see my hands. So I'm going to show you the rings. If you've got any questions, anything like that, you can put them in the comments. And throughout the weekend, I'll be responding to queries, questions. You can contact me on Instagram, via my website, or you can ring me or text me. Everything's on my website, so if you go to my bio, there'll be a link up there for you to get all the details. Just checking the time. I've got 15 minutes, so I better keep to that, so there's somebody else doing something at 10 o'clock. Yeah, and like I said, go to the mademakers.co.uk website to see the full schedule for the weekends. There's lots of exciting things to look at and watch. And if you go to the Made Makers website, where all the artists that are taking part in this event, you can then view and browse by maker and see what they've got on offer. Lots of people have new items specifically for this event. You can there click on to the individual makers' websites, and that's how the sales are made this weekend. So they happen on the makers' websites, their own websites. Yeah, so give me a moment and I'm going to just go and move my lights. Hang on. I'm back and it's time to shift the camera around as well. See if we can get this to work. Here we go. Right. And we need that angle. Right, so here you see a little selection. You can't see them very clear at the moment, but I will look at each one at a time. These are the rings I'm going to show you today. I was going to start with this one, which I've had a lot of feedback on and good comments, but it sold yesterday, so I won't be doing that. But I just thought I'd show you anyways. It's a great example of the textures that I use in my jewellery. They're all made by fusing, so I basically use my scraps from my production, and I fuse filings and little bits and pieces onto fresh, recycled as well, sheet to create these quite rustic organic textures. Of course, no two are ever the same, so it creates these quite random patterns. I don't think the focus isn't that great now, is it? So anyway, so let's move on to the first one I've got going here. This here is a ring that features a river rock, and it's got quite rusty colours in it. I think hopefully you can see that okay there. And this is quite a good example of me combining a beach pebble, basically, or a river rock, with a little diamond. So that's a little rose cut diamond there in a sort of reddy rusty colour. I've also set it in quite a sleek bezel with a brushed finish and added a little pebble there, a little hand cast pebble again, which I make from my recycled scraps. And the band, as you can see, has the textures that I was talking about, recycling my scrap silver. And you can also see that the band is tapered, which is something I do on most of my rings, because I think it's quite important, especially with rings and big rings, that you perhaps wear every day, that they are really comfortable. So that's something that's a really important thing for me. So there we go, that's what it looks like on. So it's a bit of a statement ring, but it's also very comfortable. So it's the one that you can wear every day, really. And that's how that goes. Then next up, we've got a sapphire. And actually, that's a good angle on it. You can see that the sapphire itself is quite a large chunk. It's a kind of grey-brown colour. But it has this beautiful blue streak. It's almost like somebody's taken a paintbrush and put a blob of blue on the stone, and I think that's quite fascinating. Otherwise, it's quite a big ring. I'll just stick it on here just for you to see. Sorry, that's a bit small for that finger. Let's do it on that one there. So it's a bit of a statement ring again. It's a nicely faceted stone, and if we look at the band, it's an offset band, so it kind of runs from that side to that side. I'm not describing that very well, am I? But you can see it better than I can actually describe that. So there we have it, and we've got the textures again and the patina, which I use to bring these textures out more, because I'll show you in a minute. I have some bright finish pieces as well, and that gives a little bit of a different look, but this really brings out the textures. I then polish off the high spots of this and give them a quick burnish to give them a little bit of a glint. So there's a bit of a contrast between them. So there's a contrast between the brushed settings and the textured bands. Right, and that was a size P, that one. I don't know why the labels come off the first one. Anyway, moving on. The next one I want to show you is a labradorite. This is one of my absolute favourite stones. They've got beautiful, it's called labradorescence, this flashing that goes on when they move in the light. And they can have anything from golden through green and blue and even to purple flashes. This one, as you can see, is a blue one. Thanks, Helen. Yeah, and again, set on a textured band. Stone is set in a sleek setting, and this is a beautiful cut as well. It's the hexagon, or an elongated hexagon stone. And again, I've tapered the band so it's narrower at the high derby. So it's, there we go, from the front, and is a tapered one, so it's comfortable at the back. This is a slightly smaller ring, not quite as big and chunky as the ones I've just shown you. And that was a size R. The next one I've got to show you is tourmaline. So it's a shaded tourmaline. Tourmaline is a fascinating stone, another favourite. They come in lots and lots of different colours. And this is a shaded green one. It's a beautiful, beautiful stone. Maybe I can come a little bit closer. Again, set on a textured band. This one is a bit more rugged in the outline of it. A little bit more organic in the look. And the stone, as you can see, is offset. So I quite like asymmetric designs as well. So it's offset off of the band. And again, a tapered band to make them comfortable. And as you can see, that's how that sits on the hand or the finger. And of course, you can choose to wear it whichever way around you prefer. It's funny how everybody has a preference to what they think works. So there we go. Yeah, so that's the tourmaline, and that was a size R, that particular ring. Next up, we've got another labradorite ring, but this time it's been joined by a blue topaz, a Swiss blue topaz to be exact. And again, I've offset the stones so they sit off the band. And again, you could choose which way around you'd like to wear a ring like that. I would probably wear it like that, but it could obviously just as easily go that way, just a slightly different look. And again, sleek bezel, textured band, narrower at the back. And this one I think it's quite nice to pick up on the blue to kind of pick that out with a topaz there. And that's a size S. Now we're coming on to the bright finish rings that I mentioned about before. These ones I haven't added a patina to. I've left them bright and brushed. And that gives a slightly different look. The textures don't stand out quite as much, but they're still there, as you can see. And this one has a very striking green tourmaline, again, slightly more solid in colour, but a beautifully cut faceted stone. And this one has smoother edges to the band, and again is tapered. So if I were to try that on, and again is offset. I have a bit of a thing for offset stones, haven't I? There we go, that's the tourmaline. The lighting, I'm afraid, isn't the best here, but yeah. You can go on my website, of course, as well, because everything's listed there and you'll get better photos. Here's another tourmaline. A lot of people think this is an aquamarine, but it's actually a pale blue or an aqua blue tourmaline. Beautiful, beautiful stone. And this is a smooth one. I work with both smooth and faceted stones. And this is a beautiful, I love that stone. It's such a gorgeous colour. Yeah, so again, it's brushed, but this time, like I said, a bright finish. And the last one, that's a size M. All of these details are on my website. The last one I want to show you is another bright brushed ring. This is on a simple ring band, but yet again with the textures. And this one is an aquamarine. It's not a traditional aquamarine, it's a so-called moss aquamarine. And it has little tiny black inclusions in the stone that gives it this really beautiful steely grey colour. It's one that I really like working with, and that's a really cool cut as well. And let me put that on for you. That's how that looks on the hand. So there we have it. That's just a little selection of some of the rings that I've got available. And I should see if I can turn this again around again so you can actually see me. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so all of these things are available on my website, and you can get to it either through my own website, like the KarenLindbergJewellery.com, or via the Made Makers website. And do go on the Made Makers website, because there is lots of really beautiful work on there. I think there's over 100 makers taking part. And as I said before, lots of events happening over the weekend. I'll be back again tomorrow, and I'll be showing some necklaces and pendants then, and talk about commissions, which is another thing, like I mentioned earlier, that I do quite a lot of. So I will give a little bit of information on how that works and how you could go about doing that. I think that's my time up, really. I might even have shot over for about a minute. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me, and I really hope to see you all over the weekend. Come and give me a wave, or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you, and hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.